Number one, Democrats have conceded that they're going to get friggin' shellacked in the upcoming midterms. Number two, they're terrified that when Republicans get in power, they're going to do what?
What they've always done?
Yeah, what they've always done.
Undermine our democracy, undermine progress, harm the most marginalized communities, make sure that their shareholders and the CEOs that fill their pockets are continuing on the government grift. Like, what are we waiting for here?
No, but Danielle, that's fine. Look, they don't care about that. What they're afraid of is that when the Republicans get back in power, they're going to use and abuse power to attack Democrats, which they've always done and which they will always do. So instead, they're fighting on their knees, kind of fighting with one hand tied behind their back. They're literally tying their own hand behind their back because they think if they're a bit nicer to Republicans, then maybe only a few of them will die. That's what it is. It's like leading through fear and cowardice. So they're afraid of creating a quote unquote precedent that will then be used and abused by Republicans when they get power. But Republicans have openly said, Ted Cruz already said it, we're going to impeach Biden. Why? Gave no reason. So they're literally going to impeach Biden. We know this is going to happen. They're going to do these sham hearings on Hunter Biden. They're going to have revenge against Liz Cheney and all these other Democrats, what they've always done. And right now you have a brief window of like 6 months maybe until they lose power to use and abuse, to not abuse, but literally to use your majority to do what they're doing. I'll give them credit. These hearings are very good. Well done. Well produced, straight to the point, pretty freaking damning. We've only had two. And right before we started recording, Danielle, I sent you this link, and this is the latest news. This is yesterday. We're recording this on Wednesday, that Representative Loudermilk, a Republican, straight up is giving a video tour to the violent insurrectionists who are taking photos of the hallways and like straight up writing down, like, how to plan the attack that literally happened. He's literally giving them a tour.
But here's the thing that I want to say. I want to go back to Benny Thompson for a minute because I worked on the Hill, right? And I very much respected members of Congress, particularly those of the Congressional Black Caucus, because to get to Congress, having lived through many of them, what they have lived through and the discrimination and what have you is a major feat, right? And they're there because they honestly believe that the people's house is in fact the people's house. So for Benny Thompson to turn around, and we know that a black person could be thrown in federal prison for crossing the street wrong in Washington, D.C. How this man could be looking through these thousands of interviews, all of these documents, and say, because at this point, I would just say, we're going to let the American people see the evidence that we have. We're not jumping to any conclusions before the time of this is done. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what smart. I would offer. You don't need to offer anything more. Oh, we're not going to refer. Then what was this? Then this is exactly what Republicans said it was. It's just a political witch hunt. Because if you're not going to see it through, then what's the purpose of these hearings? What was the purpose of the commission? To find that there was criminal activity, to find that this man not only stole from his own constituents, but lied to the American people, put his own vice president in jeopardy, has been in cahoots with white nationalists, and then you have all that information and you're going to say, nah, I'm good?
It's like, well, we did our part. Well, the audiences are threefold, in my opinion. Number one is history. You have to do it for posterity. You have to do it because it's the right thing to do. Number two is the American people. Hopefully inform the majority or the electorate. Enough people care that our democracy is under assault. And then number three is the Justice Department. It's up to the Justice Department then to pretty much aggressively pursue these Republicans the way they pursue poor black and brown folks who friggin' sell Lucy cigarettes and shoplift.
Kill them. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And so even Adam Schiff, Congressman Schiff, and I agree with him. He says, even what we know, and I'm talking about you and me, Danielle, I'll give you one example. We have the audio recording of Donald Trump pressuring Georgia's Secretary of State, Republican Brad Raffensperger, to literally find the votes. Raffensperger's like, yo, you lost. He goes, find me the votes. All right, we have the audio recording. That in itself, just that, is a criminal case. And most likely, the Georgia DA might be more aggressive in prosecuting Donald Trump than the entire DOJ. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Because that itself is like a whopper, right? Like, we have the tape. Brad Raffensperger has admitted to it. Like they literally tried to pressure Raffensperger to literally, quote unquote, find the votes to give him Georgia. And so you and I know, and we're not part of the committee. We haven't gone through 1,000 interviews. We don't have all the evidence that these guys crimed. And to connect the dots, it's not just Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump. It's his White House. They had a war room at the Willard Hotel. It's Fox News that has promoted the bullshit big lie. The majority of Republicans believe the big lie. A Washington Post just yesterday came out with this stunning report that 103 Republicans who have won primaries since May all believe the big lie, which includes Doug Mastriano, the guy running to be the governor of Pennsylvania, who's openly saying, nope, I was at the insurrection. I believe in the big lie. And if necessary, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure there's no quote unquote election fraud. Like, this is not just Donald Trump and Team Crazy. Team Crazy is the GOP, is MAGA. This is now an accelerated, aggressive effort to overturn our elections. Like, this is literally what's going to happen in 2023, 2024, if they lose, Danielle.
Yeah, I got to say that, the evidence is damning. Everything is obvious. And what is obvious to me is that the only thing that needs to be done on Democrats' part is storytelling.
That's right.
And that's the only thing that they refuse to do. And frankly, the idea that they are so concerned about what Republicans are going to do to them is the fucking problem. Because this isn't an us versus them issue. Like, oh, I'm worried about what Republicans are going to do to Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson and to Nancy Pelosi. No, we should be fucking concerned about what they're going to do to our democracy. We should be concerned about what they're going to do to continue to thwart women's access to reproductive health care and people with uteruses. We should be concerned about them overturning, right, all of the policies and rights and rules that we have fought for over the last 2 to 3 decades. That's what we should be concerned about, not our own necks.
Well, also, speaking about connecting the dots, there's another story that I wanted to mention. We should also be concerned about the rise of violence and threats against marginalized communities. As you mentioned, that this right-wing ecosystem, excuse me, includes groups like Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, far-right, violent, often white nationalist groups who have active ties to the GOP. What we also found out last week, it's a big story that I think doesn't get enough attention, is that during Pride Month, we're seeing accelerated threats against LGBTQ communities and specifically rallies. And what happened in Idaho was that 31 men who were part of the white supremacist hate group Patriot Front were stopped by the police. Thank God. They were planning to attack a pride rally in Idaho. And I'm just going to let me just read what these men were clad in, all right? Riot gear, shields, shin guards, helmets, smoke grenades, and long metal poles like those used by some U.S. Capitol rioters on January 6th. Thank God there was a tip. They pulled over a U-Haul truck a quarter mile from the park that was hosting the Pride event, and they found them. These men, who were clad in also masks, so they're cowards, did not come with a beneficial intent, Danielle.
No,
it seems
didn't.
like they came to inflict violence. And I just want to connect the dots of like, well, why are you talking about this, Waj? Because many of them are now motivated by the right-wing conspiracy theory QAnon that says Democrats and liberals and anyone who's not part of MAGA is part of an international conspiracy that rapes and kidnaps children. That's connected to CRT that says these Democrats and Jews and black folks are teaching children to become gay and transgender and hate America. And this is all part of the gay plot. And in order to save the children, we now have to use violence against Democrats and their allies. Well, this month is Pride Month. And Danielle, you and I are old enough to remember in the 80s, what was the main stereotype used against gay men?
Pedophiles.
Well, the old is new again. It's all about reboots. And now you got all these people literally wearing shirts saying, save the kids, save them from pedophiles. And now with 2 weeks left in Pride, I pray to God that nothing happens. But I'm really worried that this now activated, radicalized group that is tied to the GOP will literally kill people.
Well, let's go on a step further, because I believe that these are coordinated acts and incidents. On that same weekend where the U-Haul full of white supremacists was pulled over and 31 of them were
that should be
arrested.
A punk rock band.
Were arrested. And mind you, I just want to enlighten for people, they were from 11 different states.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So these men were coming from 11 different states. So gas prices be damned. They were on their way to cause some harm, but also on that weekend in California, Proud Boys bursted into a storytime drag queen reading in California, yelling homophobic slurs, yelling transphobic slurs, and all of these things. The New York Times reported on it and said that they, quote, disrupted an event. Let me tell you something about media right now and on their bullshit, which is the fact that this is not a disruption. These people are escalating violence. They want to cause as much harm as possible, and they are domestic terrorists, because the point being of what was going to transpire in Idaho, if not for that concerned citizen that said there looks to be a mini army getting into a random U-Haul. If they did not tip and follow up like, oh, I don't know, the FBI and everyone didn't do for January 6th, what do you think would have happened at this Pride event? What do you think would have happened at that story time had the police not been called and actually came in, right? Instead of saying, oh, you know, boys will be boys, white supremacists will be white supremacists, and everyone gets to just carry on and do whatever it is that they want. There are messages that are going out across these different servers and platforms that are saying and calling these people into ranks to say, go to this event, go to that event, right? There is a terror alert right now where I am recording in Washington, D.C., getting ready to go to a Pride event at the White House, where, again, there are threats all around here. Right, that are being picked up. So this is not about Democrats covering their own asses about Republicans that are going to come in and make them look like fools. This is about green lighting violence and terrorism in this country.